All right, guys, welcome to the Golf Podcast Live with Raf and Mike. This is episode 95, brought to you by Lagmaster Sports and Castillo Roofing in Tampa. We've got a special guest. We've got a guy that, who looks like that guy who did that thing. You know what I'm saying?
I hear that a lot. You look like that dude, or either that or, man, I got a cousin look just like you. Just like you.
Well, he's an ESPN correspondent, analyst, SXM PGA Tour radio host, and America's Caddie star for 3 seasons. Michael Collins, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And 95 episodes deep, it took that long for me to get on here? Hot dog.
Yeah,
I think you've been ghosting Raf for 2 years, so it's he finally he probably showed up at your house to get you to come on.
Well, I tell you, I called him yesterday. We've been going back and forth for a while. He's like, "Yeah, I'll do it. Perfect. Let's do it." And then I'm like, but anyways, you're here now, and we're happy to have you. I mean, golf is in a pretty good place, Michael. You've
kind
got
of
people,
that's debatable,
well,
Raf.
I was gonna say that's
yeah. We're looking at Nelly Corda. We're looking at Scotty Scheffler, Live Golf, the PGA Tour. I haven't seen the growth of the game since Tiger came into the game. 99, 2000, 2001, the growth, the explosion. When I started teaching, actually in 99, celebrating 25 years this year of instruction. But tell us a little bit about your journey. You have got a different background, Michael. It's unlike anybody else in the industry. You're not only a personality, you've worked in the golf business as a caddy, as a comedian.
Well, that's where it's all. That's the thing. Here's the crazy journey, because I get emails from kids in journalism school all the time, and they see me doing ESPN, or like if I'm up doing, Sports Center for TSN, or doing any of the radio interviews up there in Toronto and Winnipeg and Vancouver, all over the place up there too. So I get these emails from kids that are like, "Yo, I'm in journalism school. Tell me how to do what you do." And I tell all of those kids, if you try to follow my path, you're either going to be homeless or the cart person working at Walmart. Be like, "Yeah, I thought you were in journalism school." I was. Would you like a basket or a cart? Welcome to Target. I should have never listened to that Caddie dude. I was doing stand-up comedy professionally and ended up performing in Hilton Head in 1998, the week that the tournament was going to be there, and ended up going to the tournament on a Tuesday with a kid who I had gone to high school with back in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, who was an assistant pro in Hilton Head, just happenstance. We met a golfer, his caddy, who were also friends with a comedian that I had performed with. So the golfer and caddy came to the show Tuesday night, gave me clubhouse badges for the week. So I ended up going every day. And by the end of the week, 50 players and 100 caddies had been to the show. And I had gotten to be friends with a bunch of players and caddies. So I started booking comedy wherever the tour was going to be. And in the daytime, I would hang out on a golf course. And at night, I would go do stand-up. And golfers who I would hang out with in the daytime, they would say, "Hey, man, go talk about this tonight on stage." And I would go on stage, and they would be at the show. And if it was funny, I would give them credit. And if it bombed, I would blame them. So it worked out good for everybody involved. And then Tuesdays and Wednesdays, the caddies would be like, "Hey, Mike, you want to carry the bag?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, get to be inside the ropes." Not thinking the bag weighs 35 pounds and I'm about to walk 7 miles.
Right.
I turned into a Sherpa for the caddies. So they started calling me the caddy's caddy. And then one week, Robert Gomez just called me up and was like, "Man, I'm playing like crap. My caddy quit. I got to have this rehab start." On the back in the day, it was the Nike tour. And he was like, "I just want to have fun again on the golf course. Come caddy for me." And I did. And then other guys were like, "Yo, I didn't know you were doing this. Call me when you got a week off from comedy and come caddy for me too." And then I did a bunch of different guys while I was doing stand-up too. And then one dude, Chris Couch, was like, "Look, that's it. From now on, whenever you're not caddying, you're my full-time caddy." And him and I ended up having a really good year on 1 year on the nationwide tour, where the last 2 tournaments, we finished second in Miami, and then we set the scoring record at the tour championship. Nice. And that was it. we were going to the PGA Tour, finished 4th on the money list. Back then, it wasn't no money, but whatever.
Yeah.
I was all excited. I canceled 6 months of comedy gigs and was like, here we go. Got married, went on honeymoon in Kauai. The next week was in Honolulu for the Sony Open, and we missed the cut there. Then went to the
What
Bob
year are
Hope.
we talking about? When was this?
Goodness, that was 2000. Let me think. It had to be 2003.
All right.
2003. So then it like three weeks in, the third week, he wasn't in Phoenix and tried to Monday qualify. So he was like, I'm gonna have my coach caddy for me. I go, okay, cool, man. So I went out just to see how they did. They missed the qualifier, and then I got fired.
Right.
And I was like, I didn't know what to do, because at the time I was like,
Right.
I canceled 6 months worth of comedy gigs. Like everything that I had everything was gone. And so
did you ever try to
luckily,
coincide the caddying and trying to get gigs around the same time?
yeah, I did. I tell you what. So the 1 week I did that, I've done it twice, and that tells you how hard it is to do. I did it 1 week in San Antonio when I caddied for Dudley Hart's brother Steve, at La Cantera, one of the hardest walks on tour, and it was like 112 degrees. Me and Brando Chambly almost got in a fight, but then he wouldn't fight me because he's a punk. So, because I put the bag down, I was like, "Yo, if you got something to say it to my face. We can finish this right here."
Yeah.
It was crazy, and of course, and then of course he keeps walking. He ain't got nothing to say, which he still to this day won't debate me. Like, he's scared of me, which cracks me up. That like somebody who's supposedly that smart.
Yeah, we've been blocked. We've all been blocked. We've all been blocked.
Like a pay-per-view.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. You should see the look of pure panic on his face when we're at events together, because I'll go up on stage and tell that story and point him out, and he can't say nothing because he knows it's true. Right. Anyway, I caddied for Steve Hart and was performing at the River Center Comedy Club in San Antonio at the time. Steve had to sneak me into the clubhouse so I could take a shower, and they would drive me to the comedy club so I could do my shows. So I was exhausted. Like by the end of the week, I was beat. And then I did it again in Greensboro, actually 2 more times. Sorry. I did it in Greensboro, North Carolina when I was caddying for Brendan Pappas, and I did it in Tampa when I was caddying for Brendan Pappas. Those are the 3 times when I was doing stand-up. There were a couple of times where I went up and did some showcase stuff, like in Virginia Beach for Couchy and stuff like that, because there was another comedian. There was a golfer named John Elliott. Jumbo was his nickname, because he had such a big head and he could hit it so far. And Jumbo always dreamed of being a comedian. So I was like, I got you. Like, I was good. So I told him, I'll set you up. We're doing 5 minutes on stage. Like, you'll go up and then I'll go up after you. We're good to go. And so we were going to do it on Friday night. So I tell him on Monday, because I called a comedy club once we got into town. Hey, this is what we're going to do. Is this cool? And they were like, yeah, sure, man. Bring him up. Can't wait to hear what he's got to say. So he's all jacked up on Tuesday and excited on Wednesday. He's like, man, I'm already nervous. I'm like, what if and I'm like, relax, man. It's going to be fine. 5 minutes is going to fly by. It seems like a long time. And it can be, but it's going to fly by. Man, this dude came to me Thursday after the first round. And I'm on the driving range, and I see him walking towards me, and he don't look good. Like he's, you know how, not just pale, he gets that greenish color that like he either just threw up or like is gonna, like you would expect some drool. Yeah. And he comes up and he goes, I can't. I was like, what do you mean you can't? And he goes, I don't even know what I shot today. Like, you played, it's the first round of the tournament. What are you talking about? He was like, I don't remember one shot, nothing. Like all I kept thinking about, I'm going to die. I'm going to die on stage. They're going to hate me. I can't cancel it. I'm not doing it. So I was like, okay, relax, man. Like, it's no big deal. I'll still go do it. And we'll just say you couldn't do it. Okay. Like he almost had a panic attack doing it. But when I talked to him today, it's still one of his biggest regrets, not going on stage. Because now, just like the reason my friends had to push me to doing stand-up, now you'll never know.
Yeah.
Who knows? You go up there and you murder it.
You have a new path.
Who knows? Yes, exactly. Yeah.
No,
what happened to me?
Have you ever fallen flat on stage where you're like
Yes.
for words? And
What?
how do you get past that?
No, it's not that I've been short on words, but like I performed on a cruise ship. The first time I ever performed on a cruise ship, I performed on these cruise lines. The cruise line was called Dolphin Cruise Lines, which was like the Motel 6 of the sea. Just say in the bathroom, like I could shave, go to the bathroom, and brush my teeth at the same time while taking the shower. That's how small the bathroom was. And so I don't know if you've been on a cruise ship, but they have early seating dinner and late seating dinner. Well, early seating dinner is like 4:45. And then you got to do a show at 5:30. Well, there wasn't anybody in the audience under 90, right? Like they basically putting urns on the table, and if they would jiggle, if I said something funny. And so the ship was so small that it was rocking back and forth. And so I'm up there trying to do my regular routine, not necessarily built for a retirement community, which is kind of what was there. Right. So people no one was laughing. No one was having a good time. And I did a joke about how women fart better than men. And these people got up and they wanted to leave, but the door was behind me. And they had walkers with wheels and brakes. So they would have to hold the brake when the ship went one way and then let go of the brake and take 3 steps and then hold the brake while the thing went. And I was already mad. So I was like, y'all might as well sit down because by the time you get to the door, the next act will be done. Well,
you got some new material now, right?
Well, I didn't use it then because they got the pens and paper out and were talking about they was offended. Can't believe the cruise ship industry would have someone like me on this. It was crazy. But then the late show, I went up there and did the same material and it killed. I got a standing ovation. Yeah. And it made me feel better because I knew then, look, that first one wasn't necessarily my fault. So,
well, they all went to take a nap. So all the people you didn't want them to see, they're all asleep, and then you got the night crowd. That's good.
Half of them probably couldn't hear you anyway.
That might be why they was mad. I wasn't speaking loud enough. I don't know.
Well, I'd love to go ahead, Mike.
Who's the funniest golfer out there?
Oh man, that's a good question. The guy who won the Open Championship for years and years. So if I go way, way back to dudes like when I started, even to now, Todd Hamilton might have been the funniest.
Really?
Right.
Todd Hamilton, and I know this is going to freak a lot of people out, but VJ Singh.
Wow.
Right.
Okay. VJ, people do not know how hilarious he is to be around.
Well, his cackle makes me laugh. His
well, that's what laugh, I mean. Just his laugh.
Yeah.
You do not expect the sound that comes out of his mouth does not fit the stature of the man.
Yeah.
VJ, Ernie, and VJ and Ernie are probably the 2 guys that are bigger in person than they are on TV. Most people, when you see him on TV and then you meet him in person, you're like, wow, this dude's tiny compared to what he looks like on TV, bigger than life. VJ and Ernie Els are bigger in person, which that tells you how large of humans that they are. But VJ is hilarious. Ricky Fowler, underrated funny. Harold Varner III, one of the funniest dudes out there. Henrik Stenson, another one you would not expect to be funny. This dude is hilarious. He's very dry sense of humor.
His kid's pretty funny too.
Yeah, his kid is just as funny as him. He's a little more outgoing than Henrik is. So, who else nowadays is like really funny?
Well, you did a lot.
Max Homa, he's another one everybody knows is hilarious too. So there's a bunch of guys.
You did a lot of shows on America's Caddie. I mean, we're talking about 3 seasons, so you got to talk to and work with Bill Murray, Tony Finau, Justin Thomas.
I'm gonna see Bill Murray tonight as soon as we're done. And I'll see him tonight and tomorrow. Yeah. Thank goodness you called me again to remind me because I was getting ready to leave. The Murray Brothers Caddyshack event is happening tonight and tomorrow is the tournament.
Is that right?
I'm going to play in it. Yeah, it's in St. Augustine, Florida. It's one of my favorite events to play in. So it's a lot of fun and a lot of shenanigans. One of the biggest compliments that I have ever received in my career at ESPN. 2 years ago at the Masters, we did a bit where I went at the Masters. Let us do this. I went into the concession stand with $20 and saw how much I could buy for $20, and people were freaking out with the amount of stuff that I could get for $20. And when I saw Bill the next year at Caddyshack, he came over to me and was just like, "Hey, Mike, I gotta tell you, that bit you did at the Masters, it should have been 30 minutes to an hour long. Like, you murdered it." And I was just like,
nice.
Bill Murray just basically verified me.
But he's quite the character. He'll show up by himself at random parties and just drop in on people, and it's wild. Like Robin Williams used to do that here in Vancouver. There's a little tiny comedy club, and he would pop in on a Tuesday night, on amateur night, and
just go up on stage.
For 2 hours. He would take over. People would go bananas for it.
Everyone except the comedians, because the comedians were like, "Well, so much for my 5 minutes. Like, guess I'm not getting on stage now."
The DJs are exactly the same.
I'll tell you what. I'm really excited to talk a little bit about golf here. Lots going on. I want your view on the whole PGA Tour and Live Golf. One of the great stories of all of this is seeing Anthony Kim making that quick progression. The guy having played for so many years, and now he initially used his wife's clubs to get back to the game, ordered a set online, used technology for the first time in Hong Kong, didn't even know his yardages, now is grinding, unbelievably, posting on Twitter, getting a quick following, and after his interview with Suan Hang, he's talking about how grateful he is and how he gets a second chance in life. I know he did an interview with Faraday, but I don't think they dove into all the details yet on what's happened to him, because
he got a book coming out. Yeah, he looks like he does not look like the same guy.
Same man.
No,
absolutely not.
Yes.
Your thoughts on him, and maybe a little bit on the PGA Tour Live thing going on. I mean, there's so much to uncover, but let's catch a little bit of your thoughts.
Before Ant went away, like, him and I were friends. And so, I mean, there were some infamous stories about him and some of his escapades, we'll call them, off the golf course and whatnot. And then when the injury started to happen and catch up with him, like, the guy who was the rock star forgot that the reason that you can live the rock star life was because of what you do on a golf course. Like, if you're not doing it on the golf course, then you probably shouldn't be trying to do the rock star life too, because those two now are going to go head to head against one another, and we see kind of how that played out. Now, how the story of redemption ends for him, I don't know, but it is amazing to see a guy who was considered a unicorn that we thought we'd never see again pop back up, and then not just pop up, but rediscover the love for the game at a competition level, which he had lost that for a while. And we saw other guys have gone through stuff like that too. Sergio, recently, where he would put the clubs down for 8 months, didn't even want to touch them, didn't want to look at him, nothing. And I'm sure went through that same thing. Now, I think, AK's been through some more hardcore stuff that I hope he's able to get into and tell people about, because I think he can probably save some lives by doing that. I don't know how comfortable he's going to be doing that, but if he does, and if he's able to, I think it'll be cathartic for him, but also life-saving for other people who might be going through something or going down a road that he went down, and it might stop them and get them to a Y in the road quicker than if they didn't know what his story was. So as far as AK, I'm excited to see him back. I don't set my expectations super high for a guy like that, because we all know, the grind that it took to get to where he was at one time on the PGA Tour took his whole life. So to expect somebody to show up and in 8 months, that'd be like me. Like, it took me a couple of years to get fat. Like, I'm not going to get skinny in a week, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I had a trainer tell me that, and it was like, whoa, what a wake-up moment. It's true. Like, It took you years to get fat, right? And then you're like, now I'm going to start working out, and I'll be skinny in 2 weeks. You'd be like, I bet you won't.
Yeah.
I bet you won't. So that's kind of watching AK, I love seeing him out there. And I just, the fact that he loves grinding again, if he loves that work, then I think we'll see results later. And I think it was the right move for him to go to Live.
Yeah.
As opposed to going to the PGA Tour. Because is he going to, on the PGA Tour, when's he going to have the opportunity to grind and get starts? Like, he knows he's going to play 14 times. On the PGA Tour, it's like, okay, how many sponsors are going to be comfortable giving an invitation? Like, is he going to have that medical? How much he's going to make? So, like, the way that
the cash is so important for him right now. Is it sets him up for life? It sets up his kid. So it's we've been throwing this term around a lot in the golf industry. The generational wealth that the Live is providing for these guys, and obviously that's the number one reason why they're going. But it also gives them an opportunity to try something completely different. Team golf, Ryder Cup golf style events are obviously
it's like
very
Formula
popular.
One. That's what the hard thing to explain. And I tried to explain to people when it first came out. Like, imagine getting into Formula One if all the cars were blank. Yeah. Like, when they first invented Formula One, I'm sure people was like, what? Teams? No, I ain't watching that. Like, just stupid. That's dumb. They're not even going in a circle. Shouldn't they just be going in a circle? Like, roads instead. That's dumb. Who wants to watch that, right? And now look at it. It's a multi-billion-dollar thing. And that's there. We are in a sport, golf, where tradition and we hear these words, tradition and legacy, a lot, right? And all that means is, old man on the porch, I don't like change.
Yeah,
that's what that means, right?
Well, that's why the numbers are going down. You're looking at the Masters. You're looking at the players.
That's why when you said golf is in a good place, I was like, define good place. Now, golf, as far as people playing the game, nothing did more for golf than COVID. As far as getting people to play. 100%. Why? Because it was the only thing you were allowed to do.
Yeah.
Because everybody could go outside and walk and carry their own golf bag, push their own golf cart. You could socially distance, all of that great stuff. So, like, I have friends that are in the golf business as well, and they couldn't keep women's clubs or kids' clubs on the shelves. They were impossible to keep in. They just couldn't get them in fast enough. And it's still that way. Now, here's the problem. In order to keep people's interest and loving the game, you want them to not only go play it out there, but then when they get home, I want to turn on the TV and, hey, I wonder what professionals are doing. Mm-hmm. And with everything, all the tumultuous stuff that's going on in golf right now, people will turn it on and be like, well, I hear this news about like millionaires arguing with millionaires over who gets billions. Yeah. Like, if I'm making $10 an hour or $15 an hour or even $20 an hour, and I'm playing on a Saturday at a Muni course, and it takes 5 hours and 45 minutes to play, and it's like, this is what I get to spend my extra cash on, and then I ain't got nothing left. I don't want to hear you complaining about, or especially, I don't want to hear you go, what they do over there is horrific, and it ain't real golf, and we got this terrible thing. What we gonna do, huh? Thing? So what we need to do is what they doing over there, but ours is different, and ours is better. Because we're doing it. And you're like, you know what? You should exercise your right to shut the front door.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're not helping at all. But that's also one of the reasons why I am so proud of Rory McIlroy. Because this dude is not afraid he's not married to his beliefs. Right? How many people in our society today that if they have an opinion, if they get new information that now they know that opinion is wrong, are like, I gotta stay where I'm at because I don't want to be called a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know what? I used to think this way, and then I learned this. And now I don't feel that way. I feel this way.
Yeah.
Rory has never been afraid to come out and be like, I got new information. I don't feel the same way that I used to feel. And the way that I felt before is wrong. And now I got to go back and tell some people, hey, man, sorry about what I said before because I was probably off base, but I didn't have the information that I have now. How many people do you know? How many people do we know that when they make up their mind, they're going to dig in the sand, even when they know they're wrong? They can't admit they're wrong, but they got to double down on something. And that's part of the problem now. Where it's like all this information keeps coming out about what needs to happen or what could happen, what should happen, what's going to make golf good. And if you came out and were running your mouth, throwing rocks in that glass house, now you like, well, I got to keep picking these rocks up from the same pile. When it's like, no, you don't. Not if we're going to do what's best for golf.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at right now. It's like, how many people are really going to sit back and go, okay, am I going to do what's best for me, or am I going to do what's best for golf? Because that's the thing. What's best for the top 10 guys that make money on the PGA Tour, not necessarily what's best for the guys that are ranked 200 to 175 or 150 or 150 to 100. Those dudes might need different things than what the dudes at the top need and want, right? Like, you got all these guys getting all this money and guys at the bottom being like, well, okay, what's my motivation to stay here and help a place that is supposed to be for all of us if the only people that it feels like for me is getting help is the people that already got the money? That's one of the things that I talked about when Rory was originally the spokesperson. I was like, you do understand that I don't want to hear a guy standing in front of a G5 private jet telling me not to take the money. Right? Yeah. I'm standing in front of Toyota Camry and you standing in front of a private jet G5 and you're like, don't take the money. It's all about bitch, you got the money. Well, don't tell me what to do. I'm standing in front of like a $20,000 car at best with needs tires, and you got a private jet, and you telling me what's best for me and my family? I don't think so. That ain't gonna work.
It seems fairly common with other parts of the world, you know, people telling us what to do from their yachts and what to drive and yada yada. It's just, this is golf's version of political chaos, right? And like, what do you think about the equity announcements for Tiger and Rory, and, you know, 100 million for Tiger, 50 for Rory, and, you know, some handouts? Yeah, do you think that'll have an effect on the pro side of the game?
No. It goes back to what I just said. So if we're being honest, let me ask y'all a question. Is there a number that the PGA Tour can give Tiger that will actually justify what he was worth? Not just to the PGA Tour, but to everybody who was playing along with him. Is there really a number that they can give him? Like, do you think the tour is going to give Tiger, look, man, we'd like to give you $1 billion thank you because you grew us $3 billion. So here's 1/3. Here's $1 billion, right? Like,
they had it easy with Tiger all those years. You know, people
they didn't have to do anything.
Yeah,
you could just go to a sponsor. Hey, we got Tiger Woods, 30 million.
Yeah.
And what's the sponsor going to say? Be like, nah, we'll give 5 million. Okay, cool. Because there were 20 other sponsors. Hey, I got 30 million. Can we throw 30 million to you? Hello. Hey, right? So in that sense, like, okay, we gave Tiger $100 million. Okay, cool. Is that enough? Would it be? And then on the flip side, like, and I'm asking you guys this as a question. Are Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas worth 30 million each? Now, if you're Grayson Murray, if you're Eric Cole, if you're Hunter Mahan, like Brett Wetterick was on the Ryder Cup, so Hunter Mahan, like nothing for them, and you see other people like 30, like and I'm asking.
No, it's kind of skewed because the PGA Tour is its own entity. If you look at NBA, MLB, MLS, any NHL, you know, there's salary caps. People get paid out. It doesn't mean that these guys don't deserve it. It's just the mix-up has happened so quickly. The changes happened that we don't know the worth of the players based on, you know, X amount of views on.
We know, you know what? Though? We know what they're not worth.
Changing.
And listen, it's everyone other than Tiger Woods right now is overvalued, and that's because of LIV and the PIF.
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
Was the PGA Tour ever going to be able to give John Rahm $600 million? Like, they're never going to be able to do that. Again, that's the same thing. Is the PGA Tour ever truly going to be able to give Tiger $1 billion? Like,
you know, I never thought their model.
And does Tiger need $1 billion? This is the thing. With everything that you've made on the course and everything you've made off the course, and everything that you continue to get,
Yeah.
does the tour have to give you $100 million? Or if you love the game and want to invest in the game of golf and the legacy of the PGA Tour, shouldn't that money go to the dudes in the middle that are playing 30 times a year, not 14 or 12? Like, shouldn't if? But that's, I don't know. Like, how do you tell? How do you tell guys that are like John Rahm just got $600 and something million and I stayed, and you're only giving me $50 million? That's it, right? And we look at that like, what?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a
I would kill a family member for $5 million. I mean, maybe the dog or something.
Did you say that out loud?
I
know you were thinking
ridiculous.
I know. But look, these guys have an opportunity to play the game at the highest level now for great money. Play better, work hard. You'll get into events.
No, man, don't do that. That's what Rory said to Grayson Murray in Toronto, and he's had to apologize for that.
Well, I'm not going to apologize. I've been in the business for like close to 30 years. I understand. I was never good enough to play anything at that level. And it's because
but you know what I'm never going to tell you to do? I'm never going to be like, yo, sell more shirts. Like, you know how ignorant that would be of me to say that to you? Like, do you understand?
But it's meritocracy.
What that puts you as a person? No, it ain't.
Yeah,
it's not.
If you go out there and grind, Michael, as a comedian, and if you put your work in, and
sometimes comedians that do that don't make it. Not all comedians that grind.
But that goes for every business. Isn't that in every walk of life, man?
But does that make it right for me to tell you, well, you should just sell more shirts?
I think
it's like, I sold more shirts than you the last year. And yet you're still making more bank than me. So don't tell me that, you just got to grind harder. Nah, it ain't like that. It ain't like that. And we know it's not like that. That's just the thing that sounds nice to say. Like, well, let me do this mic drop. And you know what? You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. Because not everybody who does the grind and goes through all the work, they don't make it. Sometimes they don't have the financial backing to get into all the events, to go do all the Monday qualifiers and stuff. You do all the work and you put the time in. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make it. And that doesn't mean, play better. Like, well, we both hit it in the exact same tree and your ball kicked into the fairway and mine kicked OB. What I'm going to say, hit a better tree? Come on, man. That's stupid.
I understand. But what are we talking about now? Are we talking about the fact that these guys need to get more money? At what level do we stop giving guys money? They're already getting incentives and bonuses for guys below the 125 area. They're getting $500,000 if they're starting to be between 256 and 125. They're getting their expenses covered, and so the PGA Tour has moved forward to initialize an incentive where the guys do get some more money. Like I understand what you're saying, but I've got an opinion about how the guys should, play. I mean, you've got a small window. It doesn't matter what sport you're in. How many NFL guys, how many MLB guys coming out of college, were the best things since sliced bread, but
that's apples and oranges.
Right.
You're talking about team sports. You're not talking about individual sports. You're talking about team sports that have as you said it, minimum salary caps. And if you become a star in those sports, then there are tops and bottoms of what you can make and what you can do. But you know what there isn't? Like I had a great conversation with the Hall of Fame baseball player about this, about like, you still don't just get to go out and do whatever you want on the side, on your side hustle stuff. Like the team still has to approve stuff, right? It's not like that in golf.
Yeah.
Right? Is there anybody at the PGA Tour who told Rory, hey, before you sign with Nike, we're going to need a little taste of that? Right? I don't seem to remember that. I don't seem to remember any golfer having to give the PGA Tour a taste of whatever side hustle they got. Because they don't have to, right? They don't.
Yeah.
All right.
At the highest at the highest level, you're getting compensated, because once you reach that top 125 or top 50 in the official world golf rankings, those opportunities for your agent or manager or father or friend who's helping you out to get those sponsorships are more abundant. I mean, for the guys on the lowest end, what should they do? Well, I mean, you got to create an atmosphere where you have people helping you as well. The PGA Tour doesn't owe you anything.
Ricky Fowler, who's a very good friend of mine, he was getting all kinds of sponsorship deals and stuff like that. And how many majors he got? When he first came out, how many tournaments he win? So while, like you said, hey, everything you're saying sounds awesome in theory, but as soon as you say it, I got somebody that can be like, well, what about this dude? Oh, wait, he doesn't follow everything you're saying, and he's getting all this paycheck too. So what? You gonna tell him to play better? Because he don't have to.
You know, Ricky's a special character. He's got that personality. He's outgoing. He's a good-looking kid. So he was able to garner that stuff, right? And
there's plenty of kids out that can be like that too. They can. Yeah. He's not. Ricky ain't no unicorn. So it's up to the individual. It's up to the individual to be able to do that and grow their quote-unquote brand. I mean, look what Michael Kim is doing online right now. Like he ain't won nothing, but he's one of the best follows on Twitter. And this dude, he's turning that into making some bank as well. He should. So it's like
kids on YouTube professional golfers. You know, you're looking like someone like Micah Morris or you know, some of those kids playing out there, trying to qualify, get out there, and they're making some decent bank.
That's where the PGA Tour is now learning you ain't the only game in town. And that's where the struggle is for the PGA Tour. The struggle for the PGA Tour is forever they were the one. They were and they could bully everybody.
Yeah.
It's what they did. And that's, you know, there's plenty of businesses that when you're the top dog, you know what I'm saying? Like
they can get away with it.
You're gonna push people around because you can, right? That's what you do. Well, guess what? Somebody else came and punched the bully in the face. And now they're like, what are you doing? You can't do that. You can't do that.
But we just did. Ran the same recipe for decades, and it hasn't evolved much.
How good are they at changing?
Yeah.
How fast can they change? And look how fast change is happening in golf right now. And that's because they were way back in the Stone Age, and it was like the dam broke. And now everybody just whoa. But you can't be like, can we hold on for a second? Because as soon as they say hold on, like we got the framework agreement. Which everyone's like, it's a merger. Nah, I said it before. It's a ceasefire. And what happened after December 31st?
Yeah.
That ceasefire, they were like, yo, hold on just for a second. Yeah, we'll hold on. Yo, John Rahm, come here. And they were, they took John Rahm, right? Like, nah, there ain't no ceasefire no more. So it's like the dam has broke. Mm-hmm. You sink or swim. What you want to do?
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing. We're saying it a little bit differently. Small little change in perspective on how we see things. But, you know, I think we all see the same thing. I think communication is really important where, you know, people get to talk about this, even on conflicting views. I said this before the cast with Mike and yourself, that we've had lots of guests on the show who don't want to talk about this.
And I don't understand that.
Yeah, because it gets fiery, right? People have an opinion and then you don't agree, but there's nothing wrong with the debate. I don't care.
Fine.
Yeah.
You know, Democrats and Republicans used to be able to talk to each other, you know, even if they didn't agree. Like you and I could just go off. I could go for a beer with you afterwards because we had a conversation.
How do you get to the best solution?
Yeah.
You have two differing opinions.
Yeah.
And let's sit there and go back and forth with those differing opinions until we find a middle ground that is as good as we can get for both sides. I mean, what do they say is the best negotiations is both parties walk away a little bit unhappy.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what you want. Like right now, when people are like, hey, you know what would be great? We should have Scottie Scheffler versus Nelly Korda in the match. What?
The match was always a failing event, you know. Like I don't know.
You know what I was like? Hey, you know what would be awesome? We should go out and we should get some vanilla ice cream, and you know what we should put on top? More vanilla.
Yeah.
No, nobody wants what?
And
nobody wants that. If you want a real match, you want to grow the game. If I told you for 1999, we're gonna put Live versus the PGA Tour, their best six versus Take My Money, all their best six against their best six. And guess what? If I'm down on that ground, you know who I'm. If you're not talking, you think I'm not gonna say something to make people start going back and forth?
Yeah.
Like, let's hear it. I'll be going straight to like Brooks and Bryson. Yo, the two of y'all used to be going at one another. Now you're teammates. Like, how's that working out? And like, hey, if you were going to talk smack to somebody over there, who you going to get? Like,
yeah. Oh, it's stirred up.
You think P. Reed's not going to have something to say to Justin Thomas or Jordan 100%. Spieth? And you ain't watching that? Like, what?
Yeah. That would
P. Reed would be like, not only am I going to beat you on this hole, but my lawyer's at your house right now. Right? Like, you know how sick and mad somebody, like, they're going, and everybody watching would be like, this was the greatest thing. And they would say back to him, you better hope you don't get in a bunker. Right?
Yeah. Bleaks, what were you gonna say, Bleaks?
Yeah, I mean, that would be the hottest ticket in town, and it's probably destined to happen. We're not the only ones with this epiphany.
No, it won't. Right? It won't happen.
You don't think so?
No, it won't happen, and I'll tell you why. There's two reasons, and it's Live and the PGA Tour. Like, you think they're going to be like, well, if we do it, we want the lion's share of the money. Well, I get the lion's share of the money. Like, you know, if you went to both of them, be like, yo, we're going to put this on, and all the money's going to charity. Y'all ain't getting nothing. Do you think they're not going to come up with excuses and guys are magically not going to be able to play in this thing?
Oh, 100%.
There you go. That's why it's not going to happen. For the same reason now, like everyone said, this merger should be easy. How's it going to be easy? We put more cooks in the kitchen right now. You put more people in the boardroom. You think that's going to make it easier or hard? Like, you think decisions get easier made if there's 4 people or if you got to do Congress? Good luck.
You got too many cooks. Everyone's going to be fighting for control of the pie.
Everybody has different wants and needs, and everybody thinks theirs takes priority. Mm-hmm. So there's no we, it's me. Yeah, that's the problem.
There's the old, group of guys running the PGA Tour. Unfortunately, Monahan really stuck his foot in his mouth so many times when all of this kind of started. And I feel bad for Rory because I feel like his game has suffered because of it. He was a spokesperson, all his time and effort to all those meetings, backing up Monahan. And then the framework agreement coming around with the announcement.
Being on a 6-hour phone call?
No.
Like, how much golf work you getting done?
Yeah.
If you're on a 6-hour phone call, and then as soon as you hang up, 30 dudes are trying to call you and text you at the same time. What happened? What's going on? Tell me what's up. And you got to tell them something they probably don't want to hear. Like, and now you got to deal with those emotions. Oh, yeah, ready to tee it up? No, I'm not ready to tee it up. Don't forget. Oh, did I mention I got a wife and kid? That probably want me to spend some time with them too. Like, how is that all playing out? And that's the one thing, the general public, like, we only see these little nuggets and you hear these 3-minute little soundbite things that sound great. But if you really dig deep and we're like, let me step back and see the whole picture of everything, then you kind of understand the scope and go, oh, bleep. Okay, you know what? This is not going to be that little 3-minute or 2-minute, like, little thing they said. It sounded awesome. Like, it just sounded awesome. But in reality, it's not feasible.
With legacy media, Michael, they've really put a bad spin on things. The guys have changed their tune, but if you go back and listen to the excerpts and everything that's been going on post, pre, deals and changes and conversations, because you go to any major, you'll see all the guys talking. Everything is fine. They're asking each other how everything's the same. They play with each other whenever it's not tournament week.
When they're at home, each other.
So what's it's all the garbage that goes on in media and the toxicity on all the social media platforms. It just fuels
because
it.
How much does feel good sell?
Yeah, well,
what sells more? What does drama sell more than friendship? Yeah. You know what? There ain't no reality TV shows. I've never seen Housewives of Gainesville, Florida, where all the housewives just get along, and it's great. Like they just do fun things together. Ain't nobody watching that. You know what you turn on? You turn on because so and so threw a drink on her and then spit in her drink black, blah blah blah, and it was all fighting, and that's people watch that. So people think,
right?
So people think,
like
and then people get confused when I don't understand. I thought them dudes were supposed to be fighting and hate each other. Why do I see them like shaking hands, laughing, going out to play practice rounds together? Because that's the reality of who human beings are.
Yeah.
That's
I agree with you.
Randall employed at the Golf Channel is it gets in there and stirs some shit up, and they're not going to fire him. He's there's been lots of situations.
Hey, what has happened?
I don't want to
nowadays?
Get started with the Golf Channel. I don't want to get started. I don't get me started.
What? They're real good at the backstroke, though. They're good at backstroke. That's fine. Yeah. It's cool. But that's what. Listen, and I learned this a long time ago when I started, working at ESPN, and that was one of the first things my editor told me when I was like going to go in and go off on. He was like, "Hey, man, try not to throw rocks in the glass house because you're going to get cut too."
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Look, let's take a step here and pivot. One of the funny things we do for a segment on the show, and I know we don't have too much time with you left, but funny and embarrassing stories. You did so many great episodes on America's Caddie. When I say funny and embarrassing, what's the first thing that comes to mind as a golf experience or when you were doing the show?
As a golf experience, as a caddy. I tried to never ever have to use a porta-john.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Only number one. That's it. You know what I mean? Like I don't want no blue liquid near my behind.
Michael, this is my day-to-day what you're talking about.
Yes. And I'll never forget I was caddying for Omar Uresti at the Greenbrier and caught a bug. Caught like a stomach virus bug.
Yeah.
And there was a hole that we were playing, and I was just like, I literally gave him 7 clubs and was like, I'm going to do my best to meet you in 2 holes.
Right.
Like, do your best to make sure it's those 7 clubs that you get used.
That's funny. We've had Omar on the show. We've had Omar. Omar's a great guy. I can't believe he's
buds, man.
I can't believe he's still grinding. I can't believe he qualified.
It's crazy.
At the Canadian Open last year. I didn't even know he made it. And I would have gone to see him because for whatever reason, I missed out the fact that he qualified. The guy, yeah, it's pretty great to see.
Yeah, he hasn't been able to play golf recently because he had some surgery. So I think he's still like a week or 2 out before he can even allowed to like chip and putt. So, he's the ultimate grinder. He's the ultimate grinder, which is crazy. He's the one guy. So like you talk about funny stuff on the golf course, he would get down on himself very easily. And we were at a tournament in Tucson, and like he gets down on himself. He's got his chin on his chest. He's walking slow. He's like 20 yards behind the sign bearer.
Yeah.
Right. And this is the first round. And I'm like, come on, man, you got to keep up. Come on. And he just looked up and then put his head back down. And we were big movie freaks. Like back in the day, we would go see movies like crazy. So a line from the movie Friday popped in my head, and I put the bag down, and there were people around and like the other golfers and stuff. And I said, "Hey," and he looked up, and I go, "What you gonna cry when you get in the car?" And I did the whole move like the dude from Friday did, like when he was like, "My mama gave me that chain," and it made him go, and then he started running to keep up because he knew like if he didn't stop it, I was gonna keep making fun of him in front of everybody.
Right.
And it kicked him out of it. He made a couple birdies in a row after that, so it was good. And then John Elliott, the one who was terrified to go on stage.
Yeah.
I caddied for him one time. And on the first day, on the 9th hole in the middle of the fairway on a par 5, because he had been bitching and complaining that he was the worst wedge player in the world because he made 2 bogeys with wedge in hands. It was 2 or 3 bogeys with a wedge. And he had to hit a wedge. We were 100 yards. And I knew it. So I was like, I got to do something. So we get to the ball and I slammed the bag down. And he looked at me and I looked at him and I was like, yeah, you suck. And he looked at me like I slapped him in the face. And I was like, there's a bar like 2 miles down. Maybe you should try pro darts. And he tried not to laugh because I gave him a smart ass look. And he F-bombed me and hit it to 3 inches.
Yeah.
Tapped it in for birdie. Next hole, driver got 60 yards left in. I'm like, why did you hit driver? We know you suck with these wedges. 3 feet, birdie. Next hole, number 11, par 3, 139 yards. And I was like, well, it's got wedge in the name. Even though it says pitching, it's still wedge. What you going to do? And he's trying not to laugh. And as soon as it comes off the face, I was like, oh, don't go in the hole. Don't go in the hole. 2 hops, spin left, hole in 1. Wow. And he's posing. And he looks over at me, and I go, I'm the worst player in the world. I don't want to bother my time, and I just make it. And he laughed and F-bombed me again, threw the wedge in the air, and I caught it. And after the round, the 2 other golfers that were with us were like, hey, call me when you got a week off from Couchy because we need a kick in the ass like that every now and then, too.
Right on. You know, some great stories. You know, thanks for sharing your time with us. I think it's incredible, you know, to be able to sit down and reminisce and debate and talk about golf. Obviously, we love the sport. Well, we want to see everything go well and for the players to play well and everybody to make money. But that's not the case all the time.
Not all the time.
I love your show. I love your show on SXM, you know, because you're one of the guys who just, you know, says it the way it is. I just feel like everybody gets quiet, you know, and I'm just like, you know, if I ever get to talk to Michael.
Golf is the one sport where people feel like they got to make everything sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah.
But I've always come from a place where it's like, we're all adults. Mm-hmm. Give me the truth and we can deal with it. Like, it's okay. It's good. The sun's coming up tomorrow. Golf is going to be around tomorrow. There's a way that we can all come together and still have fun. Like, when it's all said and done, no one ever said, you know, I was about to go into surgery, and thank goodness I went over and stopped at the golf course, and golf saved this dude's life. I'm like, nah, we are not saving lives. We're just playing a game. That's a game that we love with all our hearts. But it is that. It's just a game. It's a game that what we get to do is like, it honestly feels like not real life. I mean, I've had real life before. This ain't it. And I love it. I love it.
When can our viewers and listeners hear you on SXM?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 2 to 4 Eastern. It's on the PGA Tour Network. And then you'll see me again on ESPN Plus and ESPN for the PGA Championship. So I'll be at the PGA Championship doing ESPN Plus, which I think is simulcast on TSN. And then you can see me again on PGA Tour Live at the Rocket Mortgage and at the Tour Championship.
Well, we'd love to see you on the golf course and play around sometime if we catch you in Florida.
They win. Or I can come up there, you know, in June and July. I'm not coming up there in February and stuff like that. Y'all coming to me.
President's Cup, might see you there. You know, that's where we kind of met for the first time back in 2007 when you were doing SXM stuff. Time flies, but we're back. We're back this year at Royal Montreal.
That is one of my favorite courses and cities. Like Royal Montreal and the city of Montreal. Like, of course, I have a thing for Toronto from doing stand-up comedy because I did stand up there for so many years. You know, Comedy Wood when it was on Avenue and Bloor and Bathurst and Steeles. And so, like, I spent probably a month and a half a year, maybe 2 months out of the year in Toronto. But the first time I got to go to Montreal it's an amazing city as well. It's very, very cool. And just the vibe there is so different. You know what it is? Montreal to Canada is like New Orleans to the United States.
Right.
It's a different country. You know?
It has a different soul. The soul in that city is completely different than the rest of the country.
There's a saying in Montreal that we say is joie de vivre. You know, you work to live. In Toronto, man, you live to work.
Yeah, they got it right in Montreal. Well, thanks for having me on, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks, man. Bleeks, you want to wrap us up, Bleeks?
Give us a follow on Instagram, YouTube, any of the channels. We'd appreciate it. Michael, that was amazing.
Thanks, man.
Fun with Bill Murray tonight.
And look, my Twitter is the same as my IG. I have just so you can put it as ESPN Caddie too. Like the America's Caddie one is like that's my burner account for if I get fired by ESPN, then everything's going over there. That's pretty much that's the America's. Right. So America's Caddie is still me, but it's like I don't really put much there because I'm still working for ESPN. When they fire me though, that's where all the secrets are going. I'm telling everything. I'm doing Eminem. I'm burning everything.
Well, this has been live right now. This has been live right now on IG, on Facebook, on Twitter. We're gonna repost. Hopefully, you get a chance to repost if you get a chance. For Michael, you've been listening to the Golf Podcast Live.
Thanks,
Cheers, guys.
Everybody.